Hello, Oma. Today I'll be asking you a couple questions about what is love. Oma, what does it mean to live a life of faithful, obedient, peace, hope, love, and truth?
That's a difficult question, Emily. I hope you don't mind if I read some of my answers. I've had a little bit of time to think about this because they're quite complicated questions. So, what does it mean to live a life of obedience, faith, patience, peace? All those difficult words that are feelings and hard to define. But I think what it means is to be a modern day disciple of Christ. And what does that mean? Well, it means I think that you have to um, be a good steward of God's creations and recognize that all people are children of God and therefore need to be treated with respect and and treated in a way that Jesus would treat us. Um, you have to practice the great commandment, that is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind, and also the second commandment, which is to love your neighbor as yourself. That's not always easy because we are by nature sinful and flawed people, and therefore it's not easy to practice those things when you're living with other people.
Very good. Hello, Jay. Today I'm going to ask you a couple questions about Oma. Answer truthfully. What makes Oma faithful, obedient, peaceful, loving, and truthful?
Generally, Oma is all of those characteristics because she is very open and warm and embracing to others. She expresses a general concern for others, their well being, and how they are treated.
Very good. How does Oma show faithfulness, obedience, peacefulness, love, and truthfulness?
She does that through a few different ways. She does it through her church, because I know I've visited the church with her. She is very involved with the church. So she has faithfulness there. She does not impose it on others, but helps with guidance. And it comes back to all her years of being a teacher and an educator.
What love language does Oma show? Appreciation, emotional, financial, intellectual, physical, or practical?
I would say it's a hybrid of several of those, intellectual being one of them, emotional being another. Um, she always has a general concern and she wears her emotions on her sleeve. She expresses them regularly. Intellectual because she is very knowledgeable.
Hello, Mom. Today I'm going to be interviewing you on a couple questions. Answer truthfully. What makes Oma faithful, obedient, peaceful, loving, and truthful?
What makes Oma truthful and loving? She always puts others before herself. So, for example, if mommy needed a ride to go somewhere because her car broke down, she would stop whatever she's doing and take mom where I needed to go. Or if her grandkids needed her at school for help, she volunteers, she makes sure she picks up everybody, even if she's enjoying a cup of coffee with her friends and she gets that phone call from mom or her grandkids. That's what makes her very important.
How does Oma show faithfulness, obedience, peacefulness, love, and truthfulness?
Well, no matter if you like to hear the truth or not, Oma will tell you how it is. And that's good. Sometimes you need to know the truth in order to make a right decision. It helps. Do I appreciate it? Not all the time, but it's needed. She shows love in various ways. Like I said before, she will go out of her way to make sure that everyone is looked after, even if that means putting her on the bottom of the pile. For example, for birthdays, she makes everyone sure that they have a beautiful birthday. And in return, Sometimes she doesn't always get what she wants. For example, a lottery ticket from her husband, my dad.
What kind of love does Oma show? Appreciation, emotional, financial, intellectual, physical, or practical?
Well, Oma's very practical. Like I said, she always makes sure to tell you what's going on, weighs the good and the bad, and it helps them make a decision. Financial, Oma will always help you out no matter what. She will give you the last dollar out of her purse if that meant that it helped you out in the long run.
Hello, Opa. Today I'm going to interview you on a couple questions about Oma. Answer truthfully. Opa, what makes Oma faithful, obedient, peaceful, loving, and truthful?
Well, I've given some thought to that question, and I think it all relates back to the strong Christian faith that Oma and I both have. We were both raised in strong Christian households, and part of our Christian upbringing, of course, is that we are faithful, loyal, honest in our day-to-day lives.
Very nice. How does Oma show faithfulness, obedience, peacefulness, love, and truthfulness?
Okay, I'll revert back to my first answer there. It's all to do with our Christian values, and we have to. We do practice what we preach, so to speak, and what we learned, and living by I'll say the Ten Commandments in this case brings all that to the forefront. So how does Oma do that? Just basically practicing our beliefs. Be nice to people. Don't cheat, don't steal, that sort of thing, and just be nice. Yeah.
Perfect. And what love language does Oma show? Appreciation, emotional, financial, intellectual, physical, or practical?
All of the above. How's that sound? Anyways, financial wise, okay, that's a very easy one. In our household, everything is 50-50. We share everything totally. Okay, and that's part of a family lifestyle type thing where we share everything. We share our expenses, our finances, our income, our good times, our bad times. It all gets shared around here. So we don't hold any grudges, and everything is copacetic. It goes very good. So.
Oma, have you ever felt hopeless? Why did you feel hopeless? And how did you overcome being hopeless?
Okay. Yes, I think I have felt hopeless on occasion. I think all people must feel hopeless at some point in their life. I haven't had a particularly hard life, so I wouldn't say that I have had situations where I've been really hopeless. Mostly it's when I've had to deal with conflict with people, or when I've had a sticky problem and I was having a hard time solving it. So then you get a hopeless feeling. And I think the hardest time, or when I felt most hopeless, I think would have been long before you were born, when I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, and there wasn't really a treatment for it. So that gave me a hopeless feeling. But I was able to work through it because people were very supportive. My family, my friends, my doctor went to bat for me and sent me down to the Mayo Clinic. Excuse me. And they were able to come up with a treatment plan. And so after a number of years where I sort of had to live my life thinking that there wasn't going to be a solution for me, a solution did come. And so I had a sense of hope again, and that was because I had lots of support and the love of my family, and I think a lot of prayers, my own and those from my friends, my family, and that's how you get through hopelessness.
Very nice. Have you ever given up on God?
No, I don't think I have. I think I've been angry with God on occasion because things haven't gone the way I think they should go. But I wouldn't say I've ever really given up on him or her.
That's good to hear. Is it difficult living up to Jesus' standards?
Yes. I'd say it's humanly impossible. We can only try. we're born in sin and sinful by nature, and therefore it would be impossible to be totally like Jesus. But we can keep working on it and try to be the best we can.
Very true. What does it mean to be truthful?
I think it means to be honest. Truth is not just facts the way they are. I think there has to be a sense of honesty involved with that. And you have to be honest with yourself when you're looking at the truth.
Oma, who showed you how to love, and how do you show love?
I think the people who showed me how to love first were my parents, my mom and dad. They weren't very demonstrative people, because I grew up in an age where you didn't say I love you or give lots of hugs and kisses like we do now. People were a little bit more restrained, but I never felt not loved by them. And I think they showed me love by looking after me well and creating an atmosphere in our home where I always felt safe and protected. And I knew I could go to my parents anytime if I had a problem, and they would help me out with the problem or listen to me, support me, not only as a child but also as an adult. I enjoyed going home because that felt like a safe, comfortable place. And sometimes when I was tired of all the stuff in my life, I would just go home and relax, and my mom would look after me, and it would be a really nice feeling. So that's where I probably first learned to love. And then I think just being around good people, good friends, my involvement in the church. We had a nice, strong community there. And how people interacted with one another. I think they show love by how they act with other people and how they treat them. I was lucky. I worked in a school that was quite like a family, where people respected each other for the most part, and there was a type of love there as well. I think I've become a little bit more of a hugger than I used to be, because now it's easier for some reason to say I love you or to give someone a hug. And that's a good thing. I think we should be a little bit more demonstrative than we used to be.
Very nice. What is faith, and what does it mean to you?
Well, that's another one of those words that are hard to define. A lot of these words are words of feelings, and it's hard to find the right words to express what they mean. It's just something that's inside you. But I guess if I had to describe faith, it would be to say that it's trust. Trust, and a combination of trust and love. For instance, I have faith in Opa, in my husband. I have faith in him because I know he loves me and I love him, and therefore we can trust each other, and that's a type of faith. I feel the same about my family and my close friends. And then there's faith, like faith in God. And that too is trust, based on trust and love. And it's even a bigger love and a bigger trust than what you see with, in life itself. And it's not just believing that God will always answer your prayers, because sometimes he answers them in ways that you don't want, or in unexpected ways, and you don't always get what you want. Like, you can't just have faith that if you ask for a new car, you're going to get that, right? I mean, that's a very superficial thing, but it's believing that God will, He's got your back, and His promise that He'll always be with you is something that you can count on, even when you're going through troubled times. Or in happy times, doesn't matter. He's always there, and you can count on Him and trust Him, and that's what faith is to me.
Perfect. Jay, what does Oma enjoy the most and why?
I would say she enjoys a couple of different things. In the time that I've known her, family is very important to her, so she enjoys her time with family. And she enjoys reading.
What type of love does Oma show? Why and how? Eros, erotic, passionate love. Philia, love of friends and equals. Storge, love of parents for children. And agape, love of mankind.
I would say it's the last one, the love of mankind, as I do not know her in any other than the adoption of coming into the family. So I know she's very open and loving of mankind and concerned of others.
Perfect. And last one, how does Oma love, and what type does she show towards her friends, family, grandkids, neighbors, and strangers?
Her love is just her openness, her willing to accept you into her family and everything like that. She always makes sure somebody's looked after and they're welcomed.
Well, thank you, Jay, for letting me interview you. I hope you come again. What does Oma enjoy the most and why?
Oma loves to garden. She loves her flowers, particularly her roses. I remember years ago, her granddaughter named Emily had to have a Cinderella rose plant. So Oma made sure she bought the Cinderella rose plant and put it in her garden. It's right off the deck, and she takes very good care of it.
What type of love does Oma show? Why and how? Eros, erotic, passionate love. Philia, love of friends and equals. Storge, love of parents for children. And agape, love of mankind.
I would say all of them she would show, except for erotica, because that's just not something that she shows emotions and love in a different way. Yeah, Oma helps out wherever you need to help out. Make sure everyone's happy.
And last question, how does Oma show love, and what type does she show towards her friends, family, grandkids, neighbors, and strangers?
What kind of love does she show? Well, especially for her grandkids, she shows them lots of hugs and kisses and make sure they're always smiling and make sure they always have their favorite meal or snacks before bed or sleepover. So that's one thing Oma for sure does. For friends and family, she makes time for them no matter what. If someone needs help falling ill, she makes sure she takes them to the doctor. She always follows up with her friends to make sure that they're fine during COVID. Lending an ear to talk to, Teams, messaging, even her relatives over in Germany, she FaceTimed to make sure they were okay during the hard times of COVID.
What about neighbors and strangers?
Neighbors and strangers? She looks after the yards when people are away or if they're sick. Pulling weeds or watering their flowers, just even checking up on on their houses to make sure they're okay. She even has a few keys to the neighborhood, so if they're away, she goes and picks up their mail and takes it in their house. Strangers, well, Oma volunteers a lot at the church, and she makes cookies and muffins for the poor, and she volunteers her time handing them out to people that are less fortunate and don't have food in their homes, and hands out blankets and toothbrushes as well.
Well, thank you, Mom, for letting me interview you, and I hope we'll be able to do this again. Opa, what does Oma enjoy the most and why?
I'm going to say she enjoys me the most. Well, but actually she enjoys what she's accomplished in her lifetime. Her career was very important to her. She did a very nice job in that. Since she's retired, of course, our home is a big thing for her. Her garden And again, the garden is again a 50-50 thing where we both share the work duties and all that, and we enjoy the fruits of our labor. I'll say that.
Perfect. What type of love does Oma show and why? Eros is erotic and passionate love. Philia, love of friends and equals. Storge, love of parents for children. And agape, love of mankind.
Okay, that's a good question. I will revert back to again our Christian beliefs where we treat everyone equal. Love of family, of course, is very, very important. Children, grandchildren, this sort of thing. It's all part of our home and our life. And what other questions? I'm sorry.
Why and how?
Why and how? Just basically being in a good mood every day makes it easier to get along with each other, of course, and don't hold any grudges. Talk things out, and just the idea of making a home. That's very important too. Like Oma's very good at making a home atmosphere where she's either cooking or, I won't say cooking and cleaning, but the idea she keeps everything nice and tidy for everything, and it's a pleasant place to live. So that's a very big part of our family here. So.
And last question, how does Oma show love, and what type of love does she show towards her friends, family, grandkids, neighbors, and strangers?
Okay. Again, I'll go back to our Christian beliefs where everybody's treated as an equal. And family-wise, of course, is she goes above and beyond sometimes from the fact that she likes to have big family gatherings, people over. Again, goes. If I have a situation where we say, for instance, our shinny tournament, she makes the house welcome to everybody to come in. She'll cook and clean for 40 people at my request type thing. And again, it's the idea of working together on everything. And I think everybody feels comfortable when they come to our house. And she does her best for decorations, making it homely in a nice way.
And what about neighbors and strangers?
Okay, neighbors and strangers, we have, again, I'll revert back to the Christian values where everybody's supposed to be treated equal. Strangers not, of course, we make friends with strangers. We had a couple neighbors here just recently. We befriended them, made them very welcome. Also, strangers and neighbors. And of course, strangers, well, not so much, we don't really work a lot with strangers, but after you get to know someone, of course, they may have been a stranger, but then you bring them into your group of friends and that, and make it pleasant for them to enjoy your company. So she does a good job in that. So.
Well, thank you for answering these questions, and we hope to do this again.
Thank you.
Oma, are you obedient to the standard of Jesus?
No. I don't think I can be entirely because I'm a sinful person. Although I try to be a good person and to live up to his standards, but I think it's pretty hard. The good thing, though, is that we have God's grace, and no matter what we do, that grace is freely given, and that's what saves us.
Who do you look up to, and why?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know that I've ever really thought about that too much. I think I look up to famous people from our past who've worked hard for mankind, like Nelson Mandela, Gandhi in India. I look up to people who have sacrificed and given their lives actually for their beliefs. People like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who is a German theologian, and he lived during the Second World War, and he actually died in prison because he opposed Hitler's war against the Jews, and he gave his life for that. But he was a very famous Lutheran theologian, and so I admire him and I look up to him. Then I admire some of my friends who've gone through some traumatic life experiences and with courage and faith. And yeah, I can't think of anyone else offhand.
Well, thank you, Oma, for letting me interview you.
Yeah. And before we sign off, I wanted to tell you one more interesting thing about hope. I was reading an article the other day by a Lutheran pastor, a lady pastor, who was describing faith and hope. And she quoted Emily Dickinson. I don't know if you are familiar with her poetry, but she writes a lot of nature poems. And she wrote a poem about hope, and she compared it to it being a feather. And I thought that was kind of an interesting comparison. I like the way she described hope. The poem, I don't know if I could quote it. It's called "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all." And I like that description because hope kind of brushes up against you like a feather. You know, when you take a little feather and tickle your face or tickle somewhere, and it's very gentle and you only feel a little bit, but it makes you kind of happy, or it gives you a good feeling. And that's what hope is. It comes in very gently, but it allows you to breathe and catch your breath when you're feeling hopeless, and it allows you to move forward so that you can get on with what you're doing and move forward. And I thought that was kind of a nice description of it. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was very
You're
nice.
welcome.
And thank you for coming or letting me interview you.
You're very welcome. And don't ask such tough questions next time.